Espert, the brief negotiated interview, step by step.
Hello, Ms. Baca. My name's Carlos.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm okay.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm one of the social workers that works here in the clinic, and I'm glad you made time to meet with me today. I know that you came in here a little while ago for the initial intake and filled out some paperwork for us to get things started. So I also know you came in to talk a little bit about how you've been feeling lately, and I want to make sure we get to that probably a little bit later in our discussion. But before we do that, I do want to take some time just to get to know you a little bit better. I find that it helps me kind of see what's going on in your life so that as we start working towards helping you feel better, I know a little bit more about what happens in your daily life. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 37. I'm divorced. I have 2 girls. Gina is 12 and Carrie is 9. They spend most of their time with me, but they do see their dad on the weekends. And he has a great relationship with them. His relationship with me is pretty terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 9 and 12-year-old girls, they must keep you pretty busy.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as part of that, kind of getting to know your daily routine and what's going on in your life, can you tell me a little bit about what your typical day looks like?
Well, honestly, every day pretty much looks the same.
Okay.
I wake up at 6. I get showered, start getting breakfast on, get my girls up at about 6:30. They start getting ready for school. I get them fed. They're out the door by about 7:25. Which gives me just about a half hour to do everything that I need to do before I get to work. I'm the general day manager at a warehouse, so I'm there all day. I get done at about 4:30, home by 5. And that is usually I come home, open a bottle of wine, start making dinner, get the girls fed and cleaned up, and lunches made for school the next day. Get them off to bed by about 8:30. And then I have maybe like an hour or 2 of watching TV, or sometimes I'll talk to my sister. And then I go to bed, and then the whole thing starts over again. And that's pretty much every single day.
Okay. So really busy day from morning till night. Seems like you're pretty nonstop throughout the day. Getting the girls ready for school, making breakfast, and then you starting your own day at work. Okay. Sounds like maybe that's busy and, maybe even it seems like kind of feel like you're on a treadmill or maybe going in circles.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I definitely feel kind of stuck,
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I definitely want to talk about that, and I want to talk about how you've been feeling lately. Okay. Before we jump into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the answers you gave to us on some of the alcohol questions last time. Would it be okay if we talked about that first?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, Ms. Baca, the first thing that you mentioned when you were here before was that it seems like you're drinking daily and that you're having about 4 or 5 drinks each day. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
All right, could you tell me a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, kind of part of my routine of coming home at the end of the day, Like I said, I'll start making dinner and I'll open a bottle of wine. Gosh, I think I kind of even do it without really thinking about it. I get home and I open a bottle of wine while I'm making dinner for everybody.
Okay, so kind of like an automatic thing and something that is just part of the routine and part of the process and helps you unwind a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are there any other things that you like about drinking wine?
Yeah, I mean, it's something to look forward to at the end of the day, and it can sort of help me slow my mind down, I think, a little bit, especially if it's kind of going really fast with, if I've had a bad day or if I'm getting kind of down on myself. Drinking can kind of help me get out of that.
Okay, so relaxing kind of quiet some of those negative thoughts maybe that are going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What about some of the not so good things that are going on when you drink?
Well, I mean, it's expensive. I probably spend a couple of $100 on wine a month. And I know that I said that it helps me calm down my brain a little bit, but sometimes it makes those kind of sad thoughts even worse. And, you know, I don't always make the best decisions when I've been drinking. Like, I'll call my ex-husband and we'll get into a big fight. And, but I think, honestly, the biggest thing is that I feel like it means that I can't always be there for my girls. There was one night when my youngest was doing the dishes and she broke a plate and she cut her hand pretty bad. And, you know, we needed to go to urgent care so she could get stitches, but I couldn't drive her because I'd been drinking. So I had to call my sister, and my sister had to take her. And that just really made me feel like I wasn't able to be there for my girls.
Okay. So it sounds like several things that maybe you don't really like about, you know, when you're drinking, and you know, some of that's the cost. You know, wine can definitely be expensive. The other piece of it is maybe making some decisions, you know, around calling your ex-husband, and you know, sometimes getting into arguments that maybe you'd prefer to avoid if you weren't drinking. But the biggest one seems to be your girls and really wanting to be there for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That incident you described where you kind of had to rely on someone else to be their caretaker, sounds like that didn't sit well with you very much.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Well, as you're describing kind of, you know, those things that maybe aren't so great, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be okay if I shared with you a couple of things that we know about alcohol and its effect on people. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to use this card here. One of the things that we know about alcohol is that people who drink more often on in larger amounts tend to have more of the negative consequences associated with alcohol use. And so, you know, some of the examples you gave are actually right in line with that. You know, difficulties, you know, holding up parental responsibilities, being there for their children, also the finances. Sometimes it does get expensive and costly. And those relationship issues where, you know, sometimes we say things we wouldn't want to someone who, you know, we're in a relationship with, or in your case with your ex-husband, maybe getting into those arguments that ideally you'd like to avoid, it sounds. The other thing that we know is that there are safe drinking limits. And so what I'll show you here on this card is for a healthy woman your age, the safe drinking limits are no more than 3 drinks of alcohol a day and no more than 7 drinks in a week, where 1 drink in your case would be about 5 ounces of wine. Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm drinking a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's based on what we talked about earlier. It seems like you are kind of above those limits.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I think I need to make some changes.
It seems like there's, you know, seeing this information in black and white kind of, and talking about it, sounds like it's something that really is driving you to maybe do something different and make a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have to.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like it's a strong need. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Beckel, when you think about making a change, I want to talk about that a little bit further to see, you know, what that looks like and dive into it a bit. I like to use this yellow ruler on the back of the card to kind of figure that out. So in this ruler, you see that it's called the readiness ruler, and it goes from 0 to 10. In this case, 0 means that you're not at all interested or ready to make a change with your wine drinking. And 10 means you're completely ready to make a change in drinking wine. So when you see that scale, where would you put yourself?
I think I'm about a 6 or a 7.
Okay, so right in here, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me, Ms. Baca, how come you didn't choose a 2 or a 3?
I think my girls are the biggest reason. And wanting to be a good mom to them, and also wanting to be a good role model. Yeah, for them.
That seems to be a big motivator for you, is kind of wanting to be that good parent, someone who can be there for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about the connection you have with your girls?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's the 3 of us most of the time. And I'm probably the most consistent, like, presence in their lives. And I just feel like I haven't been doing a very good job. And like I could do better for them.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like you're at a point right now where you're wanting to be more present with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit more. And when you think about making a change, right, it seems like you've got strong motivation to make a change, being there for your girls. I want to talk a little bit more detail about what that looks like. And so as you think about a change that you'd be willing to start or make today, what is one thing that you'd be willing to do to help this change?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing would be maybe trying to break the habit of, opening a bottle of wine right when I get home.
Okay.
So maybe when I get home, I could make myself a mug of tea instead.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been talking about how it's part of what you typically do, part of your routine, and so I think working to break that routine is a fantastic idea.
Okay.
Excellent. And so the other thing, do you mind if I kind of offer an idea of something that I've seen other folks do who are trying to do that? One of the other things that folks do is they try to raise the awareness of their drinking to them, so kind of self-awareness, right? And so can you think of anything else that might help you become more aware of your drinking and how much you drink?
Well, I used to write in a journal every day before I went to bed, so maybe I could write down how much I drink in that journal, and maybe that would help me kind of see it, right?
That's a great idea. Yeah, I think being able to see it on paper, really helps you track what it looks like, and then we can kind of track it to see your progress and see how it's going.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Excellent, Ms. Bakdas. So thanks again for taking time to talk about your alcohol use. It sounds like you've got strong motivation to make change, to be there for your girls.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you got a great plan to get started.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, now I want to spend some time talking about, your feelings and how that's been going lately and why you initially came in here for help. So let's spend some time talking about that.
Okay.